So here we are again. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel, and I want to talk about fear. And the reason why I want to talk about fear is because I think fear now is becoming out of hand, or should I say, it's getting out of hand. We have global fear, we have domestic fear, we have fear in family, fear in friends, personal fear, and fear becomes our identity. Fear tells us what to do, what not to do, and what to think as well. Fear is very destructive. Now, on a very basic level, fear can be good. Fear, as we know, can save our lives. I don't need to tell you, what to do if a lion came charging against you or up to you. The chances are you would probably run, and that's good. And that's when fear is good. But what I want to talk about is irrational fear. Irrational fear where it's out of your awareness, unconsciously. Fear really does grip us, and fear does become our identity. Fear has us right there, it can grip you, and it becomes our identity. And it's very important to actually realise that. I liken fear. I think fear is like an invisible wave. What I mean by that is if you're stood in the sea and you see a wave coming crashing towards you, and it hits you, it's going to make you either fall, it's going to make you unbalanced, it's going to make you unstable. And I think fear is like that, but I think it's an invisible wave. What I mean is especially in a global context, it's when fear happens and it's an invisible wave and it goes out there onto the planet and it causes chaos around the world. It's like the wave hits the planet and goes up and just goes and surrounds itself. And I think we should call planet Earth planet fear. So on a deeper level, fear really is the heart. It's the epicenter of what society is becoming. Fear is everywhere. Fear is in education. If you don't learn or don't do what I tell you to think, you are going to become a bum. You won't get a job. You'll become a loser, etc., etc., etc. Instead of telling a pupil how to think, it's often what to think, and then you get the fear. Fear is in religion. It is. I've got nothing against religion. I admire people who are religious. There's some good people, but unfortunately, there's fear in religion, where if you're bad, that means you're going to go to hell. If you don't do good, or if you don't follow God, you probably won't end up in heaven. Fear is in politics. Politicians sell fear and people buy it, and it makes them think and do irrational things. And again, that becomes our identity. Fear is on social media. Fear is sold by media corporations. Fear is in family and friends, as I mentioned. Fear can stifle performance. Of course, it can drive people, but it can also hinder people's performance through lack of confidence, etc., etc. Fear builds walls. It builds resistance. When you have two countries are fearful, that can cause war. Fear can cause war. Fear can cause economic collapse. Fear can cause domestic violence. Fear can cause the guy to come off from work and beat his wife up because he's fearful of something. Fear causes depression and mental health. Fear causes physiological problems. It suppresses the immune system. It stops our bodies from functioning. I'll talk more about that extensively in the next section of fear, where Fear causes stress. It then lowers the immune system, and that's when we catch disease or we get diseases. Fear causes panic, mayhem, chaos. On Black Fridays, you get people going fucking crazy and they're running into shopping malls, trying to pick the deals with fear of missing out. Fear is where a bully bullies people, because that person's fearful. Fear causes somebody to fear that they're going to be judged. Fear causes generalization. Fear causes a person frightened of being criticized. Fear causes a person to do crazy, impulsive, irrational things. Fear can cause alcoholism. Fear causes drug addiction, sex addiction. Fear causes sex abuse. Fear causes people not to talk to people. Fear causes loneliness. If a person's been hurt once before in a relationship, that person no longer wants to go out and meet the woman of his dreams, or the lady doesn't want to approach a guy through some form of fear. Fear causes people to close up, as I mentioned, to be resistant. Fear builds walls, as I mentioned, like the Berlin Wall. Fear causes racism. Fear causes murder. Fear causes all sorts of things. And what happens is fear becomes our identity, whether that's on a major scale or on a smaller scale. For example, a person doesn't want to do things in life. A person doesn't want to fulfill their dreams. A person doesn't want to go out and tell the world their idea through fear of ridicule. Fear stops progress and stifles progress. Fear stops a person from loving another person. Fear stops people from avoiding frank one-to-one discussions. Fear can stop a person going to the doctors and checking out something what they believe isn't normal in their health. That happens a lot, especially with guys. I've done it myself. I remember once I felt a lump in my testicle. I got home one night from working out and I had a shower and I felt a lump in my testicle. It was my right testicle and it scared the fucking living daylights out of me. And I didn't go to the doctors because of fear. It scared me that much I couldn't go to the doctors. Eventually the lump, this was probably about 12 years ago, a couple of days later the lump had disappeared, fortunately, which was the wrong thing to do. I remember having a big, large lump in my bladder area, and that scared the hell out of me. I suspected it was a hernia, but I didn't go to the doctors for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I had this big lump. Eventually I went, the doctor said, "You've got a hernia, you need an operation." I didn't go, I didn't get that operated on for years because of the fear, the white coat syndrome of doctors. In fact, a nurse once told me that. I had fear going in my life with stress and post-traumatic stress that caused my blood pressure to go alarmingly high. In fact, it was so high I nearly went to hospital and had major panic attacks. On a lesser scale, people close up and they don't do things. They'd rather go on social media and buy into this fear, this notion of fear. We have COVID-19 at the moment, where COVID now is, look, it's a serious thing. I accept that. But the problem is the media and the politicians are causing fear, and it's driving people to do insane things, like go to the supermarket and panic buy and buy toilet paper. Can you see the irony in that? People are literally panicking over that. And what's happening with fear, or with the coronavirus especially, is that it is hurting people and it is killing people. I accept that. But COVID-19 only becomes a problem if somebody has a problem with their immune system. And I would say be aware of that, but don't buy into this fear. Do and take medical advice. But people who are generally don't have a problem with their immune systems, they have the fear. What happens is the fear that it causes stress. Stress then suppresses the immune system, and it lowers your immune system and it lowers your defense capabilities. So it becomes self-reinforcing and it becomes paradoxical. Because what happens is you're stressed chronically, that lowers the immune system. You could catch the coronavirus, and that can be more of a problem to you as it would normally not be. So fear grips society. It becomes an identity where you don't even know it's happening in front of you. It causes a tsunami in your life. You know, I always say a lot of the time, people unintentionally cause their own shitstorm. What I mean by that is we're all fucking going crazy with fear. It becomes our identity, and then it disempowers us. It becomes disempowering. So what I want you to think about in this first part of what fear is and how fear works is I want you to be very conscientious of that not becoming your identity. Because if you allow that to become your identity, or if you allow that to become our identity, what happens is it becomes then out of control, and it stops you being the person you want to be, and it stops you from getting what you want in life. So think about that, and think about it in a very close way, where you think about it and think about and write down how it shapes you. In the next program, we're going to talk more extensively about how it affects people in a physical way as well as a mental way. So thank you for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe. Help me to help people by giving them vital information. Thank you, and bye for now. Thank you.